way up high, and the dreams that you dream of once in a lullaby.
Hello and welcome to this podcast. Today we'll be talking about the atmosphere, but we're going to start with a brief review of Earth's 4 spheres. We have the hydrosphere, all the water on Earth in oceans, rivers, lakes, rain, and mist. The geosphere, the Earth's crust, including landforms, rocks, and soils. The biosphere, living matter on Earth, including all plants and animals. And last but not least, our topic of the day, the atmosphere. The atmosphere is the thin layer of gases that surrounds the Earth. As you watch this podcast, you should be taking notes on your atmosphere sheet that says notes for Miss Ashley's lecture at the top. The other side of this sheet has your notes from the videos on radiation. So, let's get started. The atmosphere is the thin layer of gases that surrounds our planet. This layer is actually very thin. To put it in perspective, if you were to take an apple and the apple were the size of the Earth, the atmosphere would be approximately the same thickness as the skin of the apple in comparison to the Earth. So it's a very thin layer. What is this layer made of? It's made primarily of nitrogen with 78%. Next, oxygen that we breathe, 21%. Argon, a noble gas that doesn't react with anything, is 0.9%. Carbon dioxide is 0.04%. Water vapor is 0 to 4%. This one is not listed on your pie chart. And last but not least, other trace gases at 0.1%. These include things like neon, helium, methane, hydrogen, nitrous oxide, and ozone. Why do we need the atmosphere? That's a good question. It protects organisms from the sun's harmful ultraviolet rays. It maintains the right temperature range for life. And it supplies gases for breathing. I think we all appreciate that one. So, a few properties of the atmosphere that you need to know are air pressure. Air pressure is the weight of air molecules pressing down on the Earth. And as you might expect, it decreases as we go up because there's less air pressing down on us. The temperature also changes as we go up, but it's not linear. For a while it gets colder, then it gets warmer, then colder, then warmer again. And we actually divide our atmosphere into layers based on these temperature changes. Now it's beyond the scope of this class, but I just want to mention the reason that it does this has to do with the density of the air molecules or the number of air molecules in a given space. So here at the bottom, the air is very dense that we breathe, and it is heated by heat radiating up from the ground. Because of that, it gets colder as we get further away from the ground. Above that, it's a combination of being warmed by radiation from the sun and how many air molecules there are to be warmed up and interact with each other. You don't need to know the details, but I thought you might be interested. Now, if you were in class, we'd be playing a game with the layers of the atmosphere. Since we're not, it's going to be a little quiz, a little trivia show that you can play along with at home. For this part of the presentation, you should be taking notes on the table called Layers of the Atmosphere, table and diagram. On the table on the left, you can take notes. On the diagram on the right, you can be drawing pictures. Between taking notes and drawing pictures, hopefully this will help you learn the layers of the atmosphere. So, let's review. I am the layer of the atmosphere closest to the ground. What do you think? Is it the mesosphere, the thermosphere, the stratosphere, or the troposphere? If you guessed troposphere, you are right. The troposphere goes up to about 9 miles or 12 kilometers. The next layer is what? Can you guess? It's the stratosphere. The stratosphere goes up to about 35 miles or 50 kilometers. Do you know what comes next? That would be the mesosphere, leaving the thermosphere on top. The mesosphere goes up to 80 kilometers and the thermosphere goes up to 320 kilometers. Now let's learn more about what's in these layers. This is the layer of the atmosphere with the coldest temperatures. Do you remember, or can you guess? That would be the mesosphere. Pause the video and take a moment to write that in your notes. The next layer. This is the layer of the atmosphere where most weather occurs. What do you think? If you guessed troposphere, you got it right. Pause the video and take a moment to put that in your notes. This is the layer of the atmosphere that contains the ozone layer. You guessed it, the stratosphere. This is the layer of the atmosphere with the highest air pressure. We talked about this one. Do you remember? That would be the troposphere. This is the layer of atmosphere where satellites orbit. Do you remember? The thermosphere. This is the layer of the atmosphere where most meteors burn up. The mesosphere. We actually have the least data on the mesosphere as a layer of our atmosphere because it is below where satellites and space shuttles can fly, but it's above where we can send land-based instruments up to take measurements and record information. Do you know why meteors burn up here? That's because this is where the air molecules start to get dense enough to matter. The meteors pass through the thermosphere, but then as they enter the mesosphere, they compress the air molecules in front of them. And compressing those air molecules actually causes heat, and that heat then burns up the meteor. Let's see our next question. This is the layer of the atmosphere where commercial airplanes fly. Any guesses? The stratosphere. Can you guess why? Airplanes fly near the very bottom of the stratosphere because this is above where weather occurs. This allows them to fly on smooth air currents and be less interrupted by rain and clouds. Spy planes actually travel higher in the stratosphere. This is the layer of the atmosphere where most greenhouse gases are. What do you think? That would be the troposphere. This is the layer of the atmosphere where the jet stream is found. Also the troposphere. This is the layer of the atmosphere where the aurora borealis occurs. The aurora borealis is also known as the northern lights, and it is caused by radio waves, which also facilitate the use of long-range communications here on Earth. Any guesses where this occurs? Way up in the thermosphere. This is the layer of the atmosphere reaching the highest temperatures. Can you remember from our graph? This would be the thermosphere again. This is the layer of the atmosphere that interacts the most with life. Where would that be? I hope you guessed the troposphere. Take a look. These are each of the layers of the atmosphere and the important aspects that we need to know. Let's take a look at these a little different way. Do you remember what's on top? That's the thermosphere. What are some important things that occur here? It is the warmest layer. It contains the aurora borealis, or northern lights, and this is where satellites orbit. Although the air molecules in the thermosphere reach very high temperatures, it wouldn't feel hot if we went there because there are so few air molecules, we wouldn't really feel it transferring to our skin. What's the next layer? This is the mesosphere. Meso, middle. The mesosphere is in the middle. What happens here? This is where meteors burn up, and it is the coldest layer. Next is the stratosphere. It's not just a famous hotel in Las Vegas, it's also where the ozone layer occurs and where spy planes and commercial jets fly most of the time. And here, the layer that we live in and love the most is our troposphere. So many things happen here. We have greenhouse gases, it has the highest air pressure, it's where weather occurs, and the layer where most life is found. I hope you enjoyed this little trivia game. We have a few more notes to take about the atmosphere. A few more things you need to know are, we mentioned that the ozone layer occurs in the stratosphere. Here are a few more things you need to know. The ozone layer, which we mentioned, occurs in the stratosphere. It is made up of ozone. Ozone is when 3 oxygen molecules are bonded together. If this happens lower down where we live, it's considered an air pollutant. But up in the stratosphere, it is a necessary part of our atmosphere that absorbs ultraviolet radiation. These are the harmful rays that cause sunburns, skin cancer, and damage to the DNA of plants and animals. So it's very important that they're absorbed by the ozone layer. It is surprising that the ozone layer actually has little effect on temperatures on Earth. Some of the same pollutants that cause global warming can also damage the ozone layer, but the hole in the ozone layer is not believed to contribute in itself to warming temperatures on Earth. And there's one more layer of the atmosphere called the exosphere. This is the outer layer where the gases of the atmosphere mix with space. Some scientists consider this to be its own layer, but others don't. So we didn't include this in our detailed review, but I want to mention it here in case you come across it later. That's all we have for this video. I hope you enjoyed.